This is Teacher Tanisha from the Prophet of Thought series. Welcome to Dark Exodus.
Sometimes it's just a few who are speaking the truth. The truth catches fire, and that's what's happening now.
Here comes X. Think about this.
This is X from the Prophet of Thought series. You know.
The Froten Star.
You know. And I'm back with another.
Dark Exodus.
And I'm out in New York City. And, you know, we often hear people talk about, you know, the neighborhoods within black society, how they're dirty and there's garbage and broken bottles and I'm in New York City now. I mean, I was in Brooklyn, I was in Queens, and I was also in the Bronx. And I seen these neighborhoods, man. I seen how raw, I mean, just wore out and broke down and how terrible they look. But these neighborhoods, man, they're nothing but a reflection of the people who live within the neighborhood. Now, what do I mean when I say that? I mean, you look at these neighborhoods and you see the garbage and you see the paper and you see the trash and the cans and the boxes and the dirty diapers and all that kind of nonsense you see out on the sides of these streets, man. A lot of these people, man, a lot of their houses look the same way. I mean, I literally walk down the street, man, and there's people who, I mean, they open their door, man, and as you walk past the door, when the door opens, man, the scent that comes out of the damn door damn near knocks you off your damn feet. And it's crazy because, I mean, we can't expect people to keep a neighborhood clean when a lot of them can't even keep their damn house clean. I mean, y'all have seen it, man. Y'all have seen it on social media, man, where you see these girls, they standing up there and they posing and they got their ass poked out and they're making these crazy funny faces, and in the background, all you see is trash, dirty diapers, curtains hanging halfway off of windows and nonsense like that. And you gotta ask yourself, like, when does this become so normal that a person is willing to take a selfie with all of that nonsense in the background? And it's like, you know, I'm not saying that it's exclusive to us as a people within black society, but what I am saying is that more often than not, when you go into these neighborhoods, man, and you find yourself around some of this stuff, man, I mean, these people can't even keep their damn house clean. So how the hell are they going to keep the neighborhood clean? I mean, if you ask me, when you come into these neighborhoods, man, and you see all this garbage and filth and all this nonsense laying around, and I mean, it's basically just spillage, man, from inside their houses, man. That's all it is, man. I mean, come on. I mean, you know, there's always exceptions to the rule. You know, you may roll into one of these ghettos and see a couple, you know, places. You go in there and they got their house pretty decent and it's clean and it's well kept and all that, man. But more often than not, man, when you go into these ghettos, man, and you walk into one of these places, man, I mean, these places are filthy. Like, I mean, you walk into the hallway, man, the hallway smells like a combination of piss, vomit, and landfill. That's the only way you can describe it. Piss, vomit, and landfill. So it's like you can't be surprised when you walk into someone's place. You walk into an apartment or a house out here in New York City. You can't be surprised when you walk into there and it smells the same way. because it's just this stuff is just a reflection of the people who live within that particular neighborhood. And for us to clean up our act as a people, I mean, we first got to start off with cleaning up our act, at home. I know we always talk about that, man, that everything starts at home. Everything starts at home. And it's true, man. I mean, not just in a sense of, keeping the neighborhood clean and, keeping the trash up and stuff like that. As far as how we are as a people, you can't expect people to become productive, positive members of society abroad, out in the world, out in their town or their city or their state, if they haven't first become productive members of the society within their own home. Because your house is what? It's a small society. Everyone in there lives within that society under a certain list of rules, parameters, or lack thereof of rules and parameters. And what you have become within that small society, which is your house, ultimately is going to be reflected when you're out of there, when you go out into the world, out into the street, out to school, out to your job, out to do whatever it is you're going to do. It is a direct reflection of what you were taught within your home. Okay? I mean, there's no denying that. I mean, people can say that, all these other negative influence come into it, whether it be TV, video games, the internet, music, I mean, whatever, reality TV shows, whatever you think may be having an effect on how people are. I'm a true believer that ultimately it begins at the house. Okay? You can't tell me that 50 Cent and Lil Wayne and Jay-Z and all these other people have made your kid what they are. You can't tell me that watching reality TV has made it so that your kid doesn't want to do anything with their life. You can't tell me that video games have made it so all your kids want to do is sit around and play them. You cannot tell me that. I mean, it has something to do with us. It has something to do with us as a parent. Okay? Now, these things contribute, of course, TV, video games, music. I do believe that they contribute. They contribute to who our children become as a people. But why do they contribute? They contribute because of the teaching, or I say again, the lack thereof of teaching, work ethic, character, civilism, being able to be socialized, having ambition, having desire to succeed, having desire to weigh the irrelevant stuff against relevant stuff in your life, being able to distinguish between the two. I think all of that stuff plays a part in how a person is developed, and how a person is developed has to start where that person developed from. Because guess what? These kids that's out in the streets doing the things that they're doing, these kids weren't born in some alley somewhere, all right? They were born in a hospital just like everybody else. They came out pure and untarnished, and what happened? They were born and they were brought back to a place where people don't give jack diddly squat about them. They may or may not have a father, and they're being taught to live any old kind of way. They're being taught to be content with living at the bottom of society. They're being taught to be comfortable at the bottom of society. They're being taught to be content with the minimum, okay, of society, and they're being taught to just be settled with a rather minuscule existence. And you see this stuff. I know I see it a lot because I travel, up and down the East Coast every couple of months, and you see it everywhere. I mean, you see it in North Carolina, you see it in Virginia, you see it in New Jersey, you see it in New York. I mean, it's evident It's evident wherever you go to where people live. Let's say, for argument's sake, where people live at the poverty line and below, right? Now, you have these people who are impoverished, right? So, being that you are a poor person, one thing that you have if you're a poor person is you have the ability to at least control what goes on in your own household if you don't have control over anything else. If you're a person that lives in poverty, you don't have much control over economy. You don't have much control over the neighborhood you live in, because where do you live? You live where you can afford. So you don't have much control over that. But what you do have control over is the daily operation inside your place. And within the daily operation of inside your place that you control, if you are a person who lives in poverty or below the poverty line, at the very least, you have time to not only keep yourself living a particular way, but you also have time to make sure your children develop a certain way. And it probably will start with the amount of children that you have, but that's another video for another time. But not for nothing else, you at least, more often than not, if you're a poor person living inside the ghetto, you are a person who have a lot of time, because chances are you're probably unemployed and you have a lot of time on your hands. So you can spend a lot of that time, if nothing else, making sure your kids come out of that poverty, giving your kids a mind state so they don't end up living in poverty like you're living in poverty now with them. Give them the mind state to where they want to come up out of the impoverished conditions that they live in, where they want to come out of those ghettos and those back alley neighborhoods and those ran down projects and those neighborhoods in black society that are on the margins of everything else, where there's trash on the streets and garbage and gunshots and people selling drugs and all this kind of nonsense. You want to put that kind of ideal into them so that they want better. You should be teaching them that this is not life. This is not what you should settle for. Okay? If anything, you living within those pockets of that particular society should be an example to your children to want more. And that is what this is all about. I mean, forget the ran down neighborhoods and how ran down they look, man, and the ran down damn people that are within those societies. What you should be doing when you are in a society like that part of society, at the very least, you should be teaching your kids how to come up out of it. And that's where I think the problem is. I think that a lot of people, even though they're living in not so good conditions, not so good neighborhoods, not so good, areas of this country, whether it be urban or suburban or rural for that matter, I think there's a lack of indoctrinating children to be above that, to come out of it, to do better, to clean up their lives. Because the dirtiness of black society is being taught to every generation that comes from that society. And I think more often than not, like with other things, these cycles, they are repeated. So if you don't teach a kid to do the right thing, they're not going to do the right thing. So if we continue to teach children to live the way we live, and if we aren't living better or teaching them better, they're not going to be better. And that's something we need to look at, and we need to look at it yesterday. Because they say that, sorry about that, y'all, traffic's going by, this is New York City. They say that pigs are filthy because they are raised in dirt and mud and squalor. They say that if you take pigs and you put them around water and put them in a clean environment, that they would be cleaner animals. Now, I don't know how true that is, but I know that it would be true as far as children are concerned, as far as people are concerned. I mean, if you are a kid and you're growing up in a neighborhood that's full of drugs and guns and garbage and dirt and ill-funded schools and below par education, and the neighborhood that you live in is full of poverty and despair and hopelessness, how can you be expected to come out of that neighborhood unless you have a lot of ambition and drive and be a productive member, not just of society, but a productive member in your own life for that matter? Especially, especially if those same type of elements exist in the house that you live in. Because if you live in a neighborhood that's ran down and there's bottles and garbage and trash and abandoned buildings and drugs and dope and all this kind of stuff is there, if you don't at least have something to negate that within the confines of the home that you live in, how could you possibly do anything except fail? If mom is a slob and the house is a wreck, how can you turn around and be a neat freak? If mom isn't concerned with the lifestyle within the house, she's only concerned with the superficial things like her hair, her nails, her shoes, and how many likes she gets on Instagram and Facebook, how are you now going to grow up and be a person who's cognizant of what it takes to succeed in life, cognizant of what's important in life, cognizant of what you need to do with your life to not fail as she has? So I say again, if we want to raise a better generation of people in black society, the answer is simple. The answer is we have to be better people in black society. And oftentimes you would think that that's a really, really tall order where black people are concerned. Unfortunately, that always appears to be a real tall order. When you have people who the only thing important to them is, what they look like, social media, how many comments they get on their media profile, and there's nothing going into the children, no money being spent on their education, no effort, interest, desire into forcing the issue of them, being a solid person and a solid citizen. There's no effort going into that kind of stuff in most of these parts of the world. People can say what they want to say, but man, I'm in it. I'm around it. I'm around it right now. And let me tell you something, man. A lot of the things I see around me are nothing but despair, hopelessness, and poverty to the 10th degree. I rode by a school and I just watched, man. I watched as the school let out. And every single kid that came out of that building, if they weren't alone, they were with a woman. I didn't see any men picking these kids up. I didn't see any men anywhere around there. And, we all know that, there's a lack of men in these parts of society. That's no secret. And that's something else. We need to get more men involved. Shout out to the brothers out there who are involved, with their children to give them some degree of balance and structure. But, we need more, boy. We need, from what I'm seeing, we need a plane load of men to be dumped in every one of these neighborhoods pronto. I'm talking pronto. I mean, because you look at these places, man, and you look at these neighborhoods, man. You look at this segment of society, man, and you look at these children, man, and unfortunately, these children have no future, man. They have no future. I know some of them will make it out of this. Some of them will grow up to be better than their parents. But the numbers are so damn small, man. The numbers are so insignificant that it will never make a change in how these societies are right now. Because most of these people who leave from these societies and become something, they never come back. It's not like they come back to these neighborhoods and nope, it doesn't happen. And you can't blame them because there's nothing here. There's nothing for them here. There's nothing for anyone here. So people can walk around and glamorize this ghetto hood shit all they want. But let me tell you something. The best thing for any person, especially a child, is for them to be the hell up out of these places. Because all they're gonna end up being is a product of this society. And this society sucks. This society is depressing, man. It's depressing. It's discouraging. It's disheartening. And there's no way you can grow up to not be a person just like that. Just like that, if you remain here. Especially if you spend your childhood here, your teen years here, your adult life here. You'll be trapped here. Trapped in the midst of pain, trapped in the midst of hopelessness, trapped in the midst of poverty, and trapped in the midst of the filth of black society. And that's facts, even if we don't believe them.
Dark Exodus. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. You understand? You understand? Open your mind. Yeah, X. Only from the Prophet of Thought series media.
Open your minds.